hold hands. We have a quorum. This is the January 21st meeting of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments Transportation Advisory Committee. We have a quorum, and so we'll go ahead and do introductions. I'll start. Jennifer Irvin, El Paso County.
Bill Allspach, City of Woodland Park.
Dwayne Greenwood, City of Fountain.
Rick Arfin, Fort Carson.
Darren Horstmeyer, Schriever Air Force Base.
Deborah Baumgartner, USAPA.
Craig Casper, PPACG.
Scott Phillips, PPACG.
Wendy Pettit, CDOT Region 2.
Aaron Busto, Federal Highway Administration.
Larry Manning, Monument.
Tim Roberts, City of Colorado Springs.
Victoria Chavez, El Paso County.
Wade Burkholder, Manitou Springs.
And then
Apple and PPACG.
and our audience.
Where is everybody? Good to see that.
So, item number 2, our election of officers for 2016. Craig Casper.
It's that time of the year again. Actually, it was last month. Sorry, we forgot. But it is time to reappoint or appoint committee leadership. I don't know who's interested in the various positions, chair, first vice chair, second vice chair. But I think everybody's eligible for another go-around. The tradition is 2 years. And so everybody's good for another go-around, but I don't know who's interested in serving, who's not. Would anybody like to make nominations?
Your enthusiasm.
Keep the incumbents if they're willing.
Yeah,
The enthusiasm is.
that is a very solid way to do it. Are the incumbents willing to serve again?
Sure.
Hearing no objection, so moved that we keep the incumbents.
There's a move where it's like just by general huzzah, and then you move on. I forget what that's called.
I'll second
Huzzah.
the motion.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Any clarification on who's in the what position?
Jennifer, Brian, and myself. I think.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
That is,
Call the question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alrighty. So since Brian's not here, I'm sure he'll appreciate that.
I'm trying to help you out moving this thing
Thank
along,
you.
know?
Okay, I'm being told.
What happens when you don't show up to the meeting?
Exactly. So, agenda approval. You have today's agenda. Is there any additions, deletions? No. Okay.
Approval.
All those, I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
and just to confirm, this is the amended agenda that went out later yesterday evening? Okay. I didn't catch that part, sorry.
Yeah, thanks. I didn't say that, but hopefully everybody saw that. Items for public comment. These are items not on today's agenda, so if you have anything that you want to talk to, please bring it up now or forever hold your peace. Alrighty. Moving on, approval of the minutes. These are the minutes from the December 15th meeting, or wasn't it the 17th? Anyway.
I think it was.
So our agenda's wrong, but I think our minutes are correct, so. Hopefully everybody read it. Okay.
Move for approval. Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Sorry, I forgot to ask for discussion. Board of Directors report, Craig Casper.
And I actually have to prevaricate on this one because
Oh.
I was not present at the Board of Directors meeting this month. I was out in Washington, D.C. So,
What was that big word you used?
prevaricate, which I think actually means to lie, now that I think about it.
Maybe, Scott, you want to take that then?
Well, very unexpected. Board of Directors, our December slate was kind of light. So we, tip amendments of 9 and 10 were approved. I don't believe there was much else on the agenda. Everybody was happy, wished everybody happy holidays, and things were good.
Wendy?
I have a question about that order of amendments on the board agenda. Why was that one amendment moved to consent when that should have been a full-blown tip amendment.
My understanding of, I know exactly what you mean. Given the type of amendment, although it was a formal amendment, it was a slight change in language. It didn't affect funding,
But it
and
does, because it affects
The-
if that
the
project
project's-
was-
Can we, for everybody's edification,
The
tell
the-
them what we're talking about,
this would be amendment number 10, I believe. Was it 10? 10.
which involves the transit bus?
It was a transit. It was a change for MMT. They received $750,000 in faster funds. The original request was to replace 3 fixed route vehicles. MMT requested that the language be changed to say, replace up to 3 fixed route vehicles. That change was done, and the request was made because of the cost of the vehicles. With matching money, MMT would have around $875,000 to purchase the vehicles. The vehicles themselves cost, on average, about $425,000. The language itself would not, the funding that was provided or allocated through the FASTER program was not sufficient for the agency to replace 3 vehicles.
So my further concern with that is that once the FASTER application is received by the group in Denver that actually processes and awards money, in order to make a change like that you're not buying 3 vehicles.
Sure.
You have to have permission from them to change the application. So does Mountain Metro have a letter from,
We never received any additional,
DTR.
the only
so we
correspondence.
can't make that change until we have that clarification.
Sure, I understand.
And I know that it probably will not be an issue. I would say that DTR will probably not make a big issue out of the fact, and it probably will just move forward. But that's not a good position, and it doesn't provide full disclosure that we need to have to be a steward of those funds without making sure you have all the process followed. And to put it on the consent agenda, you're making a full-blown tip amendment when you're making a scope change. And we have to follow the rules all the time, because it can't just be this person that has to follow the rules and that person doesn't get to. So those don't belong on the consent agenda.
So Wendy, who's the appropriate person to contact Mountain Metro and let them know that
Well,
this is an
somebody,
issue?
I would say Brian or
I'll follow up.
they probably need to, I would have said in the past it was Tom Mauser, but I don't know who that person is now at DTR. And again, for the record, Michael is missing, so we can't ask him to take this to Denver and follow up on it.
I'll follow up with MMT and make sure to follow up
And DTR, make sure
DTR.
DTR gets, yeah.
and request additional information. The choice to put that on the consent agenda was made at a level that was above me. I don't have an answer for that one. It was basically because of the type of change, they thought they could put it on the consent agenda and just go through. We did pull it during the meeting. It was pulled for discussion. So,
Those kind of things can never go on the consent agenda.
We do put administrative ones on the agenda, is that
Yes.
correct?
those are done, administrative are done for informational purposes, to make sure everybody's aware that a change has been made, as well as, you guys.
Consent agenda, though,
It can be undone.
It could be,
Yeah,
it
they
could
can
be
undo-
pulled.
It's put there so they can undo
Yeah.
it.
And we have done that in the past. We have done that in the past. Anything that's been on the consent agenda, the board has pulled off, and we've had to take it and answer questions and so forth. So,
And I see that Brian's out there, so I mean, I don't want to go back over this whole thing, but I think it may be good for you guys, everybody to touch base after the meeting. I just, yeah, maybe maybe Mountain Metro didn't realize that was the issue. Maybe they already got it. Anyway, all righty, anything else from the Board of Directors report that anybody wants to mention? Anybody who was at the meeting is welcome to mention it.
We've got new chair, vice chair, second vice chair. The new chair is Councilman Pico. First vice chair is Norm Steen, and second vice chair is Jill Gabler. But the secretary and treasurer stayed the same.
And they took positions on 2 of the transportation bills that Rachel's going to talk to us about, and one wildfire one that, I don't remember if that was a pro or a con, but you can tell us what the board did during your section if you don't know. Thank you.
All righty. Moving on, anything else from anybody? Okay, moving on to the item number 7. This is an informational item from our transportation director, Buy American Waivers, fourth quarter 2015 announcement.
So this will primarily affect Mountain Metro Transit if they're in the process of purchasing, but any vehicles. But if you're going to be trying to get a waiver for the Buy America requirements, you need to get those into our federal highway representative here by next week,
29th,
29th. So
Friday.
We're already
ahead of it.
compliance with that.
Okay. So, but if there's anything else, there's probably more with Buy America that was part of the FAST. I don't have the answers. Michael Snow would be the appropriate person to address those questions to.
What do you mean?
With the Buy America, the
Nothing's
waiver?
changed with fast.
I thought it did. Didn't they remove the? Okay.
You talking about the rescinded stuff you didn't want to talk about?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Michael
So-
Snow would be the appropriate person to address those questions.
To flesh out a little bit what Craig was saying, if you don't mind me speaking. Nicole?
Please.
Okay. This is our quarterly Buy American waiver for vehicle purchases that is unrelated to a construction project. A lot of places have been using CMAQ funds to get vehicles and street sweepers and other things that need to go through this Buy America waiver process that we do 4 times a year. So if you have any vehicle purchases coming up, let us know and we can get through the paperwork. It's a relatively easy process. It just takes a little while. And earlier this year, I think it was January 6th or something, the district court in D.C. ruled that the Buy America waiver exemption for manufactured products is not valid, and no longer can we do that. More information is coming, but we have a memo up on our website that if you bring up, it will say rescinded in the background in gray. So we were having a lot of concern where little things like screws, cabinets, traffic signals, CNG.
Vehicles.
No, the thing that gives the fuel. Pump.
Compressor.
Yeah, compressor. They have a lot of mechanics in it, and you can't always prove where each element of the material is from. So you don't know where that iron is from or that steel. Or it gets very complicated when it's a manufactured product. So we had some exemptions to ease that. That is all gone now, and nothing has yet cropped up to take its place. We are dealing with it at our headquarters level. If you have any major concerns, I know we have a construction side expert, Randy Jensen, in our office who does Buy America as well. So we can help you if you have any specific concerns. If not, I would just say keep on trucking. And if you run into an issue, CDOT will let you know, and we can go from there. But I don't see it having any major effects.
Thanks. Anybody have any more questions, comments on that? Brian?
Not on that, and I apologize for being late, and I know I missed the approval of the agenda, but were we supposed to have officer elections?
Yes, you are now first vice chair.
Oh, great, that's what
You're
I,
nominated as vice
Great.
chair, so
Okay.
that's why I was going to get started.
great. Okay, great, thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
FYI.
It was a great campaign you ran.
It paid off.
All righty. And, all right, unless anybody has any questions about that, we'll move on to the next item. The CDOT update on the fiscal year 2020 Region 2 projects. Information item, and I see Wendy's listed, but I see Mark Andrew getting up. So welcome, Mark.
Thank you. Wendy, do you want to run this show?
No? I just had to have a placeholder, so that way, and I didn't know if it was going to be you or me that was doing this today, so
Okay.
go ahead.
You've handed out all the
No, I haven't.
updates?
I haven't done anything.
Let's
Do you want me to do that?
What I'm here to present today is our 2020 plan for faster safety and RPD. What we want to do is kind of talk about what projects are in line with the priority for Pikes Peak, and in particular, some of the minor changes that we made to really address the I-25 North priority for PPACG, and I know that many on the board have expressed concerns about the congestion on I-25 North. Region 1, our sister region up there, is spearheading an effort to put a PEL, a planning and environmental linkage study together, which is really a first step to look at options for widening. They've asked CDOT to participate, Region 2 to participate in that study. So as we hand this out, and I'd like to make sure that we're all on the same page here. I think we're looking at the 2017 through 2020 plan. So if you'll look at the Pikes Peak Pod, which would be on the, for the 2017 through 2020, focus on really the 2020 for faster safety and RPD. And you'll see that we have $1 million planned for the I-25 PEL study to go from Monument to Caswell. Now, what we did was we proposed to take the $1 million that was previously programmed for design and right-of-way for the 8th Street US 24 project, and move that $1 million into this. And the reason we're proposing to do that is because the 8th Street US 24 project really is being addressed with the I-25 interchange project, with the improvements that our contractor's going to be making at 8th Street. And that was an addition that we didn't anticipate with the bidding process for Cimarron. But what came out of that bidding process was we asked our contractors to provide additional requested elements to expand that project if you could within your budget. And what they came up with was improvements at 8th Street, which include a 3/4 CFI intersection. So we think that the $1 million that was originally slated to US 24 and 8th Street, which was in the draft 2020 plan, would be better used to fund this PEL study, probably 25 North. So that really is the crux of the change for the 2020 plan, as opposed to the draft 2020 plan we discussed a year ago. And in addition to that, though, with the faster safety, we don't have any faster safety program for 2020 for PPACG, but we just got $2.2 million today from the commission to do additional turn lanes on Powers. In addition to that, we're looking at possibly programming another project in PPACG, a safety project on State Highway 83 north of Powers for about $4 million. Now that project is not on the draft list. It's not on the draft list, but that may hold more money in the next year in 2021 or faster safety. So I guess some good news about faster safety for PPACG. We're looking at, again, Powers Boulevard, putting more money on Powers Boulevard sooner, and then maybe the 83 passing lane project next year. So essentially, that's the change to 2020 that we've made. So, Andy, I don't know if you have any more comments. Okay.
Craig?
A couple questions. First, what is the total cost of the PEL in Region 1? Do you have any idea?
I thought it was around $3.5 million.
Okay.
I know it was over 3.
Has the consultant been selected for that yet?
they went through a consultant selection process. I don't know if they've announced that yet.
Okay. And how does the PEL relate to the managed lanes study, which I guess is ongoing as a separate study also? How are those two meshing?
Well, that's what they want to look at with the PEL as an alternative, as a managed.
So it's the same study?
It's the same, well, in a sense, it really lays the groundwork, if that is the chosen alternative, managed lanes, to go forward with the managed lane project. So it really sets in motion that type of project, if the study recommends that.
Okay.
So, yeah, again, the million, we have 2 miles of the widening need from Monument up to Douglas County line within PPACG of the, I believe it's 17 miles up to Castle Rock.
So the funding wasn't proportional to the,
It's not necessarily proportional, but I can tell you, again, your board
it's a priority project.
expressed needs about that as a priority project.
Given that it's a priority project, I would like to make sure that we get all the technical information reports that are produced as part of the study. It's the least they can do for $1 million, is send us the information.
Well, one would assume we should get some participation for our $1 million.
Wouldn't you think?
And we have a project manager that's from Region 2 that's going to work with that team.
Okay. Would it be possible to have somebody from our area sit on the technical committee? I think that'd be a good idea.
I think that's a good idea.
So,
I think we need to represent the community down here.
Yep.
One other note that I didn't mention, there's a $500,000 for powers for design that was in the old draft list that we want to bring forward into 2020. And again, your priorities on powers or potential CFI intersections at Constitution, and then research as well, an interchange of research.
yes, research was an interchange, so.
So we think that getting those projects shelf ready with that $500,000, I don't think we can do both projects, but I think we can decide whether it's the CFI or the research interchange. I think we can get that one shelf ready.
Okay. Cool.
Tim, I think you have a,
Yeah, I think Mark might have answered it. So you had the I-25 North widening at 1.3 million. That was the monument. And then $1 million for the PEL study.
Yeah, I think you're probably, the I-25 North widening is not that 1.3, that one is the widening project. So what's a little confusing here is, because of our cash management, we actually were able to reach out into future years and use money for projects. So some of the projects are old projects.
That are completed, okay.
Yeah. One of the projects I want to call your attention to is the US 24 wildlife fence. That was a proposed safety project. We are having concerns about implementing that project because there's really no place to follow the wildlife to. And so that project may, more than likely, will be removed, and we use that money likely for 31st or 21st Street, because I know that we're probably going to need more money at those locations to do additional safety improvements. So that, we may come back to the board and recommend that when we get further down the road with that design.
Victoria.
What's the difference between the PPACG 24 East PEL and the one in CFR?
It's two different sources, allocations of money, so half of it was funded with CFR and the other half was funded through PPACG.
But you've got half of it funded in 2016 and the other half funded in 2020.
We can take that money.
With
and
their
go on.
cash management, it's the same to them.
Gotcha.
We get to do special things.
Okay.
So yeah, we can program that money this summer and keep on rolling with that study.
And then one other question. You got my Judge Orr intersection.
Once the PEL, Are we waiting, we're waiting on the PEL to give us that answer?
Yeah, I think that is a good point. I think it's still sitting on the shelf as a potential project.
Well, and I know we were promised it, and we swapped it in.
It hasn't been forgotten.
Okay, just want to keep bringing it up. You know,
Yeah.
good job.
And I'm glad you did, because I think, that, and Wendy's right, we want to go back and look at that as a potential standalone project after the PEL's done. And see how we can fund it, clear it.
And hopefully it would fall in one of these 19 years.
It could actually fall in 2021 or 2022, potentially as a faster safety project. But again, that doesn't mean that, it's going to take a couple of years to do the study, and maybe another year to finish the design. So the soonest it might be 3 years out, if we want to promise. But let's say it is ready in 3 years, we could reach out 4 years in advance and pull money then.
Because we probably want to have a larger discussion about the drainage through there, the channel, or the intersection work that needs to be done, the repair of the trail, all of that stuff. I want to make sure that as we go forward, we work coordinated on all of those, because there's some big things that are going on through there, and there's probably some synergies that we can help each other.
Absolutely, that's the study's going to bring that out.
And we're talking
Bill?
Just kind of quickly, and to piggyback on that, and Mark, since you're up at the podium, I'm just going to take the opportunity. We are moving forward with the design of 67 north of Woodland Park, those improvements. We'll get that design. We've got comments back from CDOT, from Dan and the CDOT staff, so we'll move forward with having that design finished up this year and put it on the shelf and ready when
Good, and
things happen.
again, that would be a good project that we could look at, faster safety on RPP, and I think there was some money in the 2021 and beyond list that we would have to fund that with. So again, if that one's ready.
It'll be ready this year, so.
That's something we want to probably look at on the 21 and beyond list.
And I'll just jump on the bandwagon here, just to remind you that there's been some discussion between the city and the county and CDOT about the intersection there in the Ute Pass area at the Wines of Colorado. I can't even remember. I think it's Fountain 24. So I think we need to continue that discussion and looking at opportunities there. And then Victoria already mentioned the one that I was going to mention is that we have a meeting upcoming for the drainage and the intersection issues there at Judge Orr, so appreciate. But I think we've gotten a lot done here recently, and a lot of projects move forward, so I appreciate everything CDOT's doing. Craig?
Yeah, and so on the Ute Pass conversation, the governor this morning announced 16 for 16, or 16 in 16. 16 trails statewide that are going to be funded. And one of them in our area is called the Ring the Peak, which includes the Ute Pass section of. So we looked it up. So that's, and the Front Range. Actually, one of the missing link now with the Air Force closing the Front Range Trail. We've got to figure out how to open that up. So that's another one. So those two projects in our area were listed by the governor this morning. So.
Do you know how much of the Ute Pass Trail?
It was the whole Ring the Peak.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah, but I thought the only trail segment that was really funded was the Ute Pass piece.
And there was something
Listed
else.
Ring the Peak entirely, but the trail segment was that
Well,
Ute Pass.
there was one listed in Ute Pass and then one in Teller County that was listed as a needed link on the map. So
Where did you see that listed?
it's on the Colorado State Parks website. I can send you the link. I'll send it out to the TAC. So.
I mean, is it actual money? I mean, I know that they were actually identifying projects, but had maybe not fully funded all that.
Yeah, they do say that they're not all fully funded. So all 16 are not fully funded. They didn't say which ones are not.
Was
But
very specific about it.
yeah.
And Bill, to answer your question about Woodland Park North, we did put in, and you guys aren't seeing this, but there's a draft list that we handed out last year. We put $2 million of RPP for State Highway 67 North Woodland Park on there for that.
That's the resurfacing, right?
drainage.
Oh, okay, well, that's the same one I'm talking about then. Awesome, Mark,
And
thanks.
then- But it's 2024.
Well-
There may be some options there again to look at, faster safety, exit money. So we need to carry on this conversation about how we get,
Sure.
how we can compete for funding sooner. And then we did have $2 million in 2025 for UPass, and I'm assuming that was for Cascade. So that is probably further than we want to see it. I mean, we couldn't touch that money for another 4 or 5 years, so maybe too late. But it's programmed, at least we're trying to figure out how to move it forward. So those are this is a good discussion that we can bring back and look at other options to see if there's exit money and faster safety. The faster safety program seems to be getting a little bit more every year than what we anticipate, so we may be able to compete for that.
Okay, well, we appreciate being creative. Cities spending all the money to do all the design work and all that, so we'll be ready.
Any other further thoughts for Mark or questions? Thanks, Mark, for coming.
You bet.
We appreciate it. It's a good update. Alrighty, next item is the fiscal year 2016 to 2019 TIP Amendment Number 11. This is a review and recommend item. Scott Phillips?
Thank you. This amendment is full of has multiple changes that are being made to the TIP. A number of them requested by CDOT. If you'd like, you want me to go through each item?
I think so. Quickly.
All right. The first item is CDOT's requested that we add the following projects. The first one is a design and construct a new signal at State Highway 21 in Bradley Road, and to add a left turn lane at State Highway 16 and Mesa Ridge Parkway. These projects were in the request were asked to be combined together and to be entered in the TIP as a combined project. HSIP funds being added are $600,000, and then 2017 hotspot funds are being added at $260,000 for a total project for both of the projects cost of $860,000. Item number 2 has to deal with the reconciliation for FY 2014-2015 revenues. For CMAQ funding, after reconciliation, an additional $9,340 were to be added to FY 2015 and 16 for the CMAQ funds. TAP funds, we see an increase of $2,099 in TAP dollars for the 15-16 year. We also see a decrease in our STIP Metro pool funds for FY 15 and 16 of $84,992. And for PPACG itself, our Metro planning funds, we will see a decrease of $7,707. That adjustment in itself will be made in the FY 17 contract with CDOT. Any questions so far?
Yes. Quick question about the Bradley light. Who do I talk to at CDOT to find out if there are escrow funds attached to that?
I don't think there are. Do you know, Mark?
I think there may be. I can find out for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I think there were some improvements made underground in some of the conduit for future signal.
I'll get with you afterwards.
And if I need to do something else with it, will you get with Matt and let me know?
I'll get with Val,
Okay.
Val Sword, and
Okay.
find out.
Thank you. And then, why are we losing so much money?
Why are those so much money?
We got,
Each one of the arms just the basic piece now are over $500,000 to order.
No. Why are we losing,
Oh, you're talking about why are you losing?
Sorry, I shifted gears.
For the STIP Metro dollars?
Yeah.
So that's the federal reconciliation against the state process. So at the federal fiscal year, we have reports that come that true up the federal money that we got versus what we estimated. And if you can see here, this is pretty good for a change. I mean, there's not big disparities like there has been in the past. We have a lot here and a big deficit over here. $84,000, I know in the scheme of things right now, with things being as tight as they are, it's a problem. Technically, it's only a $44,992 hit to the program here because you have $40,000 that's still sitting in the pool unprogrammed. And we can probably figure out some way to swap something out here to make that go away because you have some surplus in other areas too. So we might, like for instance, I think the TAP money has money in 2019. So when we go through and we do this process that we talked about making those 6 projects that were awarded extra funding, we make those logistically correct, we can probably make this work without having to have a big issue. We just need to look at it, and we need to sit down and have that workshop that we've talked about to make that happen. Right?
And I guess one of the questions that I have is, does this reconciliation include the additional funds from FAST that raised funding
No.
levels?
This does not touch any of that at this point. This is from last fiscal year.
Okay, so when there'll be additional funding coming, we'll be doing this again at some point to add money back from FAST.
But the problem is this, the way the system works at headquarters through budgeting, if that pool is in a negative status, which your STP Metro is at this point, you can't process any money. So we have to fix it to make it balance back out to zero so that we can move projects, because I have projects that are asking for budget actions as we speak that are sitting, so we have to fix this to make it work. So we'll have to figure out what we do temporarily to make it work. I was asking Craig before the meeting started if he was around tomorrow so we could have this conversation to put a temporary fix on it till we have our workshop to fix it permanently. Okay?
And I think it's also important to note, and Wendy touched on it, if you look at, for the STIP Metro dollars, every MPO is losing, is seeing a decrease in their funds. DRCOG's seeing a decrease of $344,000 plus dollars. We're seeing the second largest decrease, and it goes down the chain. So we're just not the only ones being hit for that funding resource. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have 2 questions. So we have an additional $11,281 in CMAQ.
That would be incorporating with what the required match is against the $9,340 that are being added.
Okay. All right. With it's the Mesa Ridge Parkway signal at State Highway 21 project. That is a signal too. So it's just a turn lane.
Signals of Powers and Bradley.
Okay. I was just wondering if the research extension south is still on everybody's long-range plans in the county, the city of Fountain.
Powers
I mean,
Extension.
Powers, excuse me.
Powers Extension South.
Powers Extension South.
It is in our 2040 MTCP plan, and we'll look at it again when we update it. I can't imagine it's going to go away in the plan.
Okay.
I'll just ask, Mark, who's doing that Mesa Ridge Parkway project in your office? Who's kind of
It would be traffic.
traffic?
Yeah, we just finished the resurfacing job there, and we'll have that.
I just want to mention, we have a PPRTA project that we may just want to touch base because we are anticipating widening that 4 lanes at some point, and it's probably moving up sooner than I had expected based upon some development. So we just may want to touch base with you and make sure that there's no issues.
Is that widening to the south?
I think so.
Okay, yeah, I'll mention that to traffic folks.
Okay, so
And then as far as the, how Tower South extension, you know, my understanding is the city of Fountain is still, you know, as development occurs, we're preserving right away as best we can for that future project. So we have an alignment with PPACG established, and it's sitting on the shelf for a long ways out, but preserving right away, I think, is the.
Thanks.
Okay, Scott, I think you can move on.
All righty, onward and upward. We were also notified by CDOT that in conversations with the city of Colorado Springs, they will be assuming the future sponsorship and responsibility for the signal replacement projects at Powers and Constitution, Nevada Brookside, and Nevada and Ramona and Washington. I do request that the city, if you guys could send over a letter and just verify, or an email verifying that that agreement has been made, be very appreciative.
Okay.
Especially moving forward, because as we go towards with the CAC and the Board of Directors, that should be able to suffice some of their, answer some of their questions.
That's my shortfall. I think I forgot to attach it. I have it.
You have it.
I'm pretty sure I have it.
And
Sorry.
no, that's quite all right. Thank you. And assuming sponsorship of those projects, the CDOT is in lieu of moving the money somewhere else. They're keeping it within the region, and 3 projects will be funded for both FY16 and FY17 in Woodland Park, and those include a signal replacement at US 24 and West Street, the signal replacement at 24 in Baldwin, as well as a signal replacement at Fairview in 24 too. The projects are a dollar-for-dollar swap and do not affect the physical constraints of the existing tip. Moving forward, item number 4, 2 new hotspot projects are being added on US 24 corridor. One is at 24A and Center Street, and I spelled that out, the Hawk systems for our future board meetings with our committee and board meetings, and as well as a flashing beacon being installed at Morning Sun and US 24. Both of the projects will be done in fiscal year 16. We request that the TAC provide a recommendation for board approval. And any questions?
Bill?
Thank you. CDOT, and we've been working on those for quite a while, so thanks.
Brian?
Sure. Scott, I have a couple questions. Attachment 6, pages 1 and 2. It looks like you have the numbers for CMAC and TAP inverted. So under CMAC, it should be adding 9340 instead of 2099.
Okay, I can make that, we'll make those changes. I appreciate you
Same for
bringing
TAP,
that to.
you have 9340 instead of 2099.
Yep, you're correct. Well, that's showing the unspent, okay, you're correct. We'll have that taken care of.
And then, you'll have to follow that over under 2016 because you have unspent funds listed there also. And that's wrong as well.
Craig?
Bill or Mark, do you know the new signals on 24, are they going to be part of the, what is it, not the signals?
The adaptive signal
Adaptive
system?
signals.
Sure, yeah. It's currently there, and they're replacing the masts and poles and all
Okay.
that. So the adaptive signal system would just roll over.
Sweet, okay. Thank you.
Oh, one other thing.
Brian?
Sorry. So, since there's a decrease in STP Metro funds, should there also be a table under the CMAC and TAP tables?
We have discussed, we were discussing that, and given that we have right now would be a negative $40,000 balance, and we haven't brought it to the table for discussion, I did not provide a table identifying that at this time because we're really haven't made a decision where we're going to wiggle that extra $40,000 from.
Well, this is,
You are correct.
what's the $85,000 decrease?
That's correct, yes.
But you still have
We would show it,
$40,000 unprogrammed.
yeah, we have 40,000 unprogrammed in the pool. Those dollars have to be pulled in from an outer year. They also have to be, we also have to find another $40,000. And in order this time to not show that negative balance that would really screw things up or slow things down, we will be bringing it back through as we wiggle that through. That'll be represented to you guys.
Great.
And what my inclination to do is look to see where there's a project in 2016, right? And that also has funding in like 2019, and just take the 40,000 out of 16, add 40,000 from our unspent pool in 19 to that project, so that the project's funding stay the same. We're just moving the deficit out to a future year, but we just haven't sat down to figure out what projects that would work. If your project is the project, whoever's, we'll let you know that we're going to do that and make sure that you're okay until we get everything resolved and the next thing, next project selection done. That we'll just do that. So.
And as Wendy mentioned earlier, there may be an opportunity to take some another funding source and swap out that deficit with the funding source that may have additional funds in it, like TAP. In the outer years, we still have around $300,000 shown as a balance that if that opportunity does exist, then that's something we'll bring to everybody and ask for your input and move forward from there.
Any other questions?
Can you go through that? Can you send out a tip in Excel for us?
Sure.
No. Not, well, everybody but you. Yeah, you know.
Okay, thanks. As long as Jen gets it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, of course. We'll have that available, and we'll make sure everybody has a copy of that once that reconciliation internally has been done.
Any other further questions?
He's not done yet.
I thought he was.
No, that.
No, you're not done yet.
Which one am I not done with?
Talk to us, Wendy.
You need to do I-25.
All right. Yep.
The I-25. Additionally, I apologize.
Mark, do you want to come up and talk about that?
Sure. Trying to recall all the numbers that are up front.
I have it.
I'm trying to find. Is it on this one? No.
It's in the attachment, Wendy. I guess I'm not.
Yeah, I don't see
It's in the CDOT letter, I think.
It's the CDOT letter.
The short answer is that on I-25 there was some additional drainage. Was it Middle Johnson Creek or something?
Yeah, there was, we had a lot of storm events through the duration of the project, and a lot of the responsibility was on the contractor to prevent erosion. With that said, there were additional betterments that we needed to make as a result of some of the larger storms. And we needed additional money for those additional drainage benefits. And we are requesting to add that
Right here.
for that purpose. The other part of the project, again, this was a $75 million project for I-25 north of Colorado Springs. The contractor had hit various soft spots that were pretty severe, and those soft spots were not anticipated.
Somewhere.
We did reimburse the contractor for a lot of that repair of those soft spots, deep strengthening. With that said, the contractor did lose a lot of productivity in the project, and it delayed him, which cost him quite a bit of money. We agreed to pay 80% of the cost, and he would eat another 20%. Those negotiations happened at the project level and also with the director as well. But we do have additional funding coming. We're not taking away from the current projects, but we're getting additional money to make up this $3.2 million deficit. So that will satisfy all the contractor payments for that project and we can close it out.
Thanks, Mark. Good explanation.
So the long and short of it is, part of it is coming from Transportation Commission and part of it is coming from surface treatment. So the piece that's coming from the surface treatment project will have to come out of the tip for now and be a project that goes back into the queue for a future funding.
Which project was that?
Mark, it's 115?
That's right, and I misspoke. The Nevada Overlay Project, we are looking at possibly doing a trade with the city so they can move forward with the Nevada Avenue improvements. We may give that road to the city from Lake down to I-25, and then in turn, we would take Lake Avenue from 115 to I-25. It's about an equal swap. And because of that, the city has said, we're going to go ahead and remove curb and gutter, redo that whole section of road, so right now, hold off on the resurfacing job, so that funding will go to reimburse for the I-25 work deficit. Some of it.
Anything else further? Does somebody have a motion?
Move to approve, or do you need more than that?
I think you need to move to approve with the noted.
We'll make the reflection, and we'll swap that out, and I'll send it out to everybody.
Yeah, and just a recommendation that, there's nothing in the memo about this project, right? This I-25, so
It was
if you wanted to
sent.
go.
It was sent, and I believe I printed off, I know I put it in a memo. I believe this memo just didn't have it incorporated in it, so.
Yeah, so just make sure that
Yeah.
information's in the CAC.
And it's
Yes.
really important that it goes through this month because we put it through Transportation Commission and we have a deadline in which to get this contractor paid and we've negotiated with this, it's Houston, right? No, Kiewit. And we've negotiated with Kiewit and we can't hold them up because we don't have a tip amendment, so it needs to go.
It'll be clear. I'll have it, and I'll make it available for everybody. Send it out to everybody.
Do you want to move or second?
Oh, I'll second.
I'll move.
With noted changes.
Yes.
I have a motion and a second with approval of the tip. I'll just restate this, approval of the tip with noted corrections, and then also addition of the I-25 explanation in the packet for future. So, any other further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alrighty, item number 10 is the fiscal year 2016 to 2019 tip amendment modification number 12. This is an informational item, Scott.
Yes, this was administrative modification that was executed by PPACG's Director of Transportation. This is being provided for information purposes to the TAC, CAC, and the board. The two items that were actions that were taken were the addition of $1.191527 million in BAM dollars, bridge asset management funds, to the Rainbow Bridge project. The second action was City of Colorado Springs requested that we revise their matching funds, and it was a swapping of local city dollars with PPRTA funds for the Platte Avenue Bridge replacement project.
Any questions for Scott?
Are those?
Yeah, and it's actually not new. We submitted for the grant. It was already the RTA match. It's just allocating the years differently.
So it's not really the funding, it's just the years?
The funding, you actually see it then, the funding actually is increased by, overall, the matches increased by $2.
But it was RTA monies.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Any further discussion on that item? Item number 11, fiscal year, it's information.
Oh, it's information.
Yes, the information discussion. Moving ahead, part of the policy, one of the policies we,
Fiscal year 2015 TIP project status report. This is another discussion item,
Yes.
Scott.
sorry. Sorry about that, Jennifer. This item is, one of the policies we have here at PPACG is that biannually, we get a project update that we can bring forward to the board to let everybody know status of the projects. Also, if there is a problem with a project, that we can sit down with the sponsor, CDOT, and work out, if the project needs to be moved forward, issues with it, challenges, things that we might be able to do to assist. Again, as also stated, it also provides information to the board so they know where the dollars are, what the status of the projects are, as well as the general public. In doing so, I broke out, the tip for FY16 was broken out, and on the very far right column, there's a project status. That project status we asked for, has the project been started, what date? If it hasn't, no. Phase of the project, is it design, right-of-way, construction, where are you at with that? Percentage complete, if you're on schedule, do you expect any delays? And then, again, additional comments that you may have. The worksheets have been broken down by sponsor. So as you go through, there will be an individual worksheet for every sponsoring agency with a project within FY 15-16 year. Go ahead.
Are you finished?
And we ask that, we'll make this available, and we'll ask that everybody, if they could respond, get it filled out, return it to us so we could report. As it's stated in the tip, the 2 times a year that we're looking for the reports are in March and also in September.
So do you have a due date that the member entities need to?
I'd like to get it out to everybody and request that you guys have it back for us to move forward with the showing it to our board by March, so in the next month.
So, next TAC meeting?
Yeah, the next TAC meeting, yeah.
So it needs to
So
be
what
on
would
the
you-
next TAC meeting?
We'd like to have it,
Okay,
yes.
so
So that's like
we need
2
a due date in
3
advance of that because you have a time frame for
The mail out's a week
your
ahead.
mail out.
Yeah.
So,
So when you send out that email
Yes.
with those, could you give us?
A requested date for
Date.
return? Sure. And again, that was for the discussion. That's why we hadn't discussed it, and I wanted to find what your input was in regards to getting that out.
Wendy?
I have all this information pretty much in a report, and I'm working on the report right now with our new PMO person, project management, the Office of Project Management. I should have this report done and available for distribution probably the first week of February, so I can send it to you, so you can use that report with your own input to fill out this document, so that when you have all this information that we have, so that your information, and if you find something that you're in the report that's not okay, then I need to know that, so we can make sure that we update our engineers with anything that needs to be fixed. So we can probably send this out, and that way they have a copy and you all have a copy, and that way it'll make life a little easier. And that way they have our information as well.
I think that's a great idea.
So I should be able to have that to you the first week of February.
and I was just looking, if we could get it back Friday, the February 12th, that way we can compile it and make sure everybody has it for the TAC on the 18th.
So as soon as I have my hands on it, that I can literally get it out the door to you, I will get it out as soon as I can, but no later than the first part of February, okay?
So is it pressing to have it in February, or could you push this out to March, given your tip scoring?
The policy says
Policy.
Okay.
March. So,
And again, there's really only, I believe, a handful of projects for each of the agencies identified. And that information, again, is broken down for each agency based on what was in the tip. So,
Alrighty, this is an informational item, so does anybody have any other further discussion? Tim?
So are you going to be sending us a form?
Yes. It'll be like what's attached, and the way it's broken out in Excel is it identifies CDOT, county, Colorado Springs, Manitou, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you just have to click on your own worksheet at the bottom, and it'll take you to the project list.
Okay.
Anything else for the good of the discussion on this item? Alrighty. Item number 12, I believe.
I do have one more question on that.
Sorry.
Do you have a project start date or anticipated start date? How do you define start date? Because a lot of these are in
Obligation,
contracting.
obligation.
Obligation of funds.
And if they're like, we're kind of on the CDOT timeline, so we're not sure, or
Obligation is your
that I, okay.
start date.
Okay.
If
Right,
you-
Aaron?
if you-
That's what starts the clock ticking, right? Obligation, right?
It sure does.
Right.
If you haven't done that, and
Sure, that's
you
what we
anticipate,
talked about
you have an
earlier.
anticipated obligation to provide that.
Okay.
So at that point, if you don't have IGA, I would put that the IGA is in process and it's in CDOT's hands, and make a note how long you've been waiting for that IGA, because then if you make a note and I can find out that it's been a year and you still don't have an IGA, then I can go back and figure out why you don't have an IGA.
That's kind of what
I
I
actually have one that I have a problem with, so I'm laughing, but it's not funny.
Yeah.
So just,
That's kind of what I was.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Good, everybody? Alrighty. Our legislative tracking items. This is another discussion item. Rachel Beck, our policy and communications.
Good afternoon. The legislative session started last week, and there are already over 200 bills that have been introduced. So included in your packet were a number that I thought would affect regional transportation planning, your operations, or might just be of a professional interest to you. And we would appreciate your expertise on these as we decide among staff whether to ask the board to support or oppose these bills, or just to keep an eye on them. So I'll just go through these quickly and you can comment. The first one that was included, hopefully you had a chance to look at these. Sorry, it's in the wrong order. The first one would allow buses to operate on road shoulders. CDOT, we understand, is looking at this on Highway 36. There's not an immediate impact to our area, but I don't know, Brian, maybe you know of some plans that I don't, that this might affect. It would involve putting up proper signage and consulting with the Colorado State Patrol before such an area would be designated. Questions, comments, protests?
Questions. Does this authorize CDOT to utilize shoulders on city and county roads?
I believe so, yes.
And there doesn't seem to be any consultation to the local road owner.
That's a good point.
Kind of an
So that would
issue.
fall under a protest.
Well, no, it was a question at first, because I read it and I was like, I don't see. So now that we know those, yeah, kind of protesting now.
All right. Good catch. Thank you.
Those tweaks would be appreciated.
All right. Give it a miss.
You would hope that at least if a route was determined to be feasible, that we would look to make sure that it was built to a standard that could hold the capacity too, so. Dot, dot,
Major
dot.
potholes in it,
Yes,
or.
dot, dot,
And
dot.
then, does it also give Mountain Metro the authorization to use county or other roads, or is it just for CDOT?
No, it specifies any vehicle that would transport 16 or more passengers, operated by a governmental entity or government-owned business that transports the general public, or a contractor on behalf of such an entity.
But that sounds
It's
like
pretty broad.
Mountain Metro would fall in that. And no offense, but again, if local buses. Some consultation on that as well.
All right. The next one would stipulate that the State Transportation Advisory Committee would provide advice and comments not just to the Department of Transportation, but also directly to the Transportation Commission. Right now, that the bill, or the, the legislative, can't talk today. The statutes just indicate that the STAC advises CDOT. So the board has already taken a position on this particular bill to support it, because it seems like a good way to make sure that the input of staff and our board staff rep is going directly to the Transportation Commission as well as the Department of Transportation. You know, we locals are on these roads every day and know them best. That's valuable expertise that the Transportation Commission should have. This one is also moving quickly. It already had a hearing in committee and has been advanced before.
We love this one.
Great. Putting a heart in my hands. Anybody else? All right, the next one on the list is a study to look at the boundaries for districts of the Transportation Commission. These have not been examined since 1991. There's a suggestion that perhaps it would make more sense for the Transportation Commission boundaries to line up with the TPR boundaries. There are a number of options that were discussed in the interim session by the Transportation Legislative Review Committee. Representative Carver is sponsoring this bill. She's talked extensively with PPACG staff as well as North Steven, our staff rep, and I believe, Jennifer, you said she talked to you as well, right?
Talked to the county staff.
So she's taken a lot of local input already. This is just a study, though, at this point, because changing those boundaries does make some people a little bit nervous.
Yep. And at the STAC meeting where it was discussed, sorry, is that okay if I talk? One of the things that came up is one of the transportation commissioners' districts houses 79,000 people. His vote carries just as much weight as another transportation commissioner who votes 920,000 people. So that was seen as an imbalance by the area represented by the 920,000 person commissioner, but not so much by the 79,000 person commissioner.
Bill stipulates that, I'm glad you brought that up, Craig, that the study would include looking at population, lane miles, and annual vehicle miles traveled in each of the districts, as well as looking at county and municipal boundaries, regional transportation areas and districts.
Is that lane miles of NHS or state highway system, does it say?
It doesn't specify, and I think we should say all lane miles.
Yep. At least NHS. I mean,
I would even go bigger than that.
So-
You know, our other arterial roads are just as important in these decisions.
yep. Yeah, the State Transportation Commission has a fiduciary responsibility to the national highway system.
Maybe all federal
Eligible.
roads?
Yep, that would work too.
That's probably the best way to go.
Can we get a head nod on that?
Oh, yeah.
Nods, okay, nods all around.
That's better.
But generally, the county is very supportive of this as well. It would do a lot to balance some of the representation from our urban area versus our rural area out east. It would give us a lot more say. This would be a very, very good thing if it went through, at least to study it, and then we'll really have to work with CDOT and others on this study to make sure that our area is represented. So, big part.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else on that one? Okay, next one's an interesting one. This would require the Department of Transportation to erect permanent roadside memorials for Colorado State Patrol officers who have died on the highway in the line of duty. And there's some real specifics in here. Measurements, 4 feet in height by 3 feet in width, where it goes on the highway. And funding is supposed to be through gifts, grants, and donations.
You're going to require it with gifts and donations? Interesting.
Yeah.
What does CDOT think about this, though? It's really affects you guys.
Well, I think if they've specified a size, they probably have the MUCD requirements in there, so I would say that probably has been dealt with. But from my personal perspective, what if the family or the person wouldn't have wanted that?
And doesn't want to drive by it every day.
Yeah, and I don't want to have to see it every day to know that's the stretch of highway that, yeah. So I wonder whether that's a good thing or not.
Maybe add something in there if they, for the consent of the,
With the consent of the family.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Well, I
Why do
think
we
the
have to-
intent is honorable, but the first word of that, require, that's problematic. It should be an enabling legislation, not a requirement.
And if for some reason there was something inside the bill that wasn't okay, there would be a reconciliation and an amendment made to the bill to make it okay with whatever practices that we needed to follow. So those kind of things happen regularly.
It seems like it should be allow rather than require.
I would also note that they probably, is it just on state highways or just, they may be on local,
Yeah. Good point.
Well, there's other officers that,
yeah, so I guess my other point is that it may be in a local jurisdiction, so they may want to consider that too.
That's why I brought this one to you.
So it has to be exactly where the accident happened? Like, right in the middle of the travel lane, or right on the shoulder? I mean,
No, there is something in here about located within the highway easement as far from the roadway as is practicable or reasonably necessary to preserve public safety and facilitate highway maintenance.
because you go on Highway 50 going through the canyon, we could put it right on the rock wall, I guess.
You're right, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, so it just
Feels a little
needs some flexibility.
You have to die in a straightaway for it to work. Yes.
well, it just covers state officers. They have all these jurisdictions, officers go too, so it's just too
Well, and I
too
know,
dictatorial.
I just know that there's several memorials on state highways for local law enforcement officers, and that's something that they might want to consider as well. I know that that has been an issue in Region 2, a memorial there, so.
All right. The next one requires that the transportation infrastructure needs federal military installations be given full consideration during the preparation of the statewide transportation plan. This is an interesting one, too, because it doesn't change a whole lot of existing language. It's almost like we're just emphasizing that. So it's something that's already included in the transportation planning process. This one feels to me like we want to go on record as saying that's important. It's okay.
This is where Fort Carson, Schriever, and the Air Force Academy chime in.
Maybe that's something they have an opportunity to take a look at, maybe give you some feedback at a later date, too.
Is it on the calendar yet?
I don't know.
When they say gives them priority, does that, in the STIP, does that also mean that we might see additional resources?
It doesn't
Focus?
say priority, it just says
says considered.
Consideration.
And there is no mention of resources now.
Comprehensive.
I think generally, we want to make sure that we support our military base because it is such an important element to our local economy, though, so this is a general statement without having, this is one I haven't read, but I think it would be a good thing.
I think we need legislation to do that.
It seems interesting that, it seems very redundant with current practice, I don't, certainly the military installations appreciate this, but it just, I don't know about that it would really be required, based on the consideration that's given to us now.
But this is statewide. So Buckley's been having trouble, so.
I'm hoping this will be done in a second.
Okay, so maybe that helps explain where this is coming from. But it's good to hear your local perspective.
They just need to close Buckley and move the missions down to Pete.
Just talk a little more about, I mean, the statewide transportation plan is a very specific thing. Does it talk about the regional planning and how they're associated in TPRs and the whole rest of the process, or is it just the statewide plan? That's its own thing.
It's primarily about the statewide plan. There is a little language here. Department shall integrate and consolidate the regional transportation plans for the transportation planning regions into a comprehensive statewide transportation plan, but that's just the general language about what the state plan is.
Right.
All right, the next one concerns regional transportation authorities and would extend the deadline, allowing RTAs to use a mill levy of up to 5 mills. This is one that probably we will not take advantage of locally. The Roaring Forks Regional Transportation Authority is interested in doing so. They're not sure when. And so they have asked if PPACG would support this.
I don't oppose it.
And it's still going to require a vote of the population, even if you want, I mean, it's like,
This is simply leaving an office.
I think that's a good thing.
All right. Next on our list, this would repeal the statutory requirement that a portion of faster funds be used for transit projects.
I oppose that.
I support it.
Not surprisingly, we're not too interested in it either. So if you're putting a heart on the stack item, you could put a heart with a slash through it for
All
this one.
right.
But you can balance that with a heart from me, so.
You do like this
Yeah.
text, okay?
Does that money fund like the bus from Denver to
Bustang,
Springs?
yes, it does.
Yeah,
It would kill Bustang.
It would kill it.
yeah.
Does it say it's been used for transit? Or is
Say
that
kill
no
it.
longer the 10% for transit?
It says it would repeal the requirement.
The requirement.
Requirement, but doesn't mean it's not-
Transit, correct?
I think there's another line though that talks about would only be allowed to be used for road projects.
You are correct.
Okay, okay.
I-
So
So
it's
the eligibility for transit would be off.
Would be
Yeah.
out.
Got it, okay.
I think that would be a big mistake because transit needs the funding. So
Yeah, the line that Victoria referred to is.
it'd go to Denver.
Revenue must be used only for road safety projects.
It'd go to Dr. Cog,
This is good public.
that's, or somewhere else, and they wouldn't care about transit.
We really do need the Mustang.
We need funding for all our transit. That's how City of Fountain got our bus service started, was faster transit funds.
So is this one that we
Strongly opposed.
Strongly opposed.
Nods, head nods,
Yeah.
Except for Bill.
except Bill.
right? Thank you.
It's a pretty strong majority, I'd say.
Doesn't matter, my
No, it
opinion still
doesn't.
stands.
It doesn't.
And ultimately, the board will make a decision on that, but I think it's good that they hear what we have to say.
All right, the next one I included is one of those that may be of interest to you professionally. This is to prohibit someone who's driving slowly from impeding 5 or more vehicles behind them.
We already have that law. Why is it coming back up?
I don't know, I personally love this.
Yeah.
But how do you,
I'm so tired of being the sixth
How do
person
you-
on
how do
that
you
slow
enforce it,
moving
though?
car.
how do you enforce it, is what the deal is. How do you
Right.
enforce it? Because I can't tell you how many
Already.
times coming along the Eastern Plains, I'm the sixth car. And I want to go and you're going 40 miles an hour.
But you need to be an officer, and then you can.
Right, but we don't have enough officers
I
because we
know.
don't have money for that, so we have
But
our
it
priorities
enables-
in the wrong
it
It
place.
exists and it's
enables them to do
unenforceable
it.
already, so what good is it gonna do?
Well, you could be the second car and you see all those other cars behind you and you can snap the license plate and turn it in on the tip line.
Oh, can you?
While driving.
Hands-free
With your
device.
knees.
Passenger will be there
As long
to
as your
get
knees
out,
are
so. Or you can pull over at that point and text it in.
What if you're the sixth car back?
No, she said the second.
Oh, the second.
Yeah. Well, you're the second car, because otherwise you can't see the license plate, but
But how can you verify that you actually have 4 other cars behind you?
snap.
Passengers.
Two photos.
Like I said, I just personally
A
love
selfie with,
I'm not taking an official El Paso County stand, I just like it.
Alrighty, next one.
All right, last one.
Do you have a head stand?
So, wait, one other question. So does that apply in construction zones too?
Doesn't specifically say anything about this.
Well, no, but it talks about if the conditions,
About the movement of traffic?
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Not in
so when you're
construction zones.
doing traffic control, you have to let cars through when you get to the fifth one backed up?
I wouldn't think so,
It's
because
not
it
the
does
way
say
it
something
is. Just-
about.
I know.
Like steps around safe operation. Yeah.
What are the, I hadn't looked at, what are the consequences? If it's gonna prohibit slow-moving traffic, why is there slow-moving traffic? If you're in a rural area that has, let's say, tractors on the road, they're gonna be operating or moving at a, let's say, a 20 mile an hour, might be a 40 mile an hour zone. How do you even gauge? I mean, what's the responsibility? And what are the implications of even, what are they gonna do, give you a ticket?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but the issues are on a lot of the mountain roads, where you get folks with huge trains behind them and they don't pull over when there's opportunities to pull over.
Sure.
This gives an enforcement mechanism. Go up 36 to Estes Park. and-
Remember, I'm a Flatlands man, so.
Yeah,
it's-
it shows. But that's why, it's, I think it's more for the mountains than it is for the flatlands,
Yeah.
because they just won't pull over. So, you can say it's the law and a sign, and then it keeps the honest people honest. So,
All right, the last one that I have included in your packet here changes the charges for violating motor vehicle late fees.
Up or down?
Down, and I don't like this one at all.
So when it says change surcharge, is that the violation or is that on top of the violation?
On top of.
Okay.
And it changes them from like $15 to like 20 cents kind of things. I mean, it's ridiculous, and we need this money. Those heavy trucks put so much damage on our roads, they should not get a break for putting more damage and putting more weight on the roads than they are allowed to have. Absolutely oppose this one strongly.
Okay, it's not a subject I know much about, so I appreciate it.
Plus, we lose money.
Craig?
I don't see the allowable use of fluorescent pink as a safety vest color.
That one was just for you.
Okay, yeah, so I don't think it's going to survive, but,
Craig's referring to a bill that would allow hunters to wear fluorescent pink in addition to fluorescent orange.
Oh, for the girl hunters, that's a good idea. I like it. They look terrible in orange.
our tax dollars at work.
I will send out our complete legislative tracker on Friday. I usually send those out weekly. That's something I can copy you on if you'd like, and then I'll also give updates in format.
I
Tell
will
me
take
what's
it
useful.
weekly, absolutely.
Okay.
I think this is great information.
thanks, yeah.
Okay. Can I
Victoria?
add one to your list?
Yeah.
There is 16-1030, and it's a bill about the off-use, or the use of off-highway vehicles on roads, so.
I do
that's
have
yours.
that.
Okay.
I do have that on my
So I
tracker.
think we
I
should
just
look
didn't
at
get it
that
into
too.
your packet in time.
Beauty.
Thanks.
Thank you, Rachel.
And
Very useful.
I think, if you have any other further comments, some of you may have not read all these, you can send them to Rachel, yes?
Yes,
Rachel.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Alrighty. Any further questions on that? I think we can move on to item number 13, TIP policy, projects with emergency funding. This is a discussion item. Craig?
And this is when actually Jennifer, and if there's a paper that was around, that, I don't know if copies that made enough around, but emergency funds go through a very onerous process before they're awarded to a project. And the proper, in my view, activity of PPACG in the cases of these emergency funds is to rubber stamp that going into the TIP. I mean, really, by the time it gets to project, it's going to a project, what are we going to do? Say, no, we don't want the emergency funds. We'd like them to go back to Washington, D.C. and be used somewhere else. But our current TIP amendment policy does not allow us to do it as an administrative modification because you're adding a project and adding federal funds. So want to see what everybody else's opinion is about adding emergency relief funds, ER funds, in as allowable administrative modification, so that we don't have to go through the TAC meeting, the CAC meeting, and the board to amend the TIP.
What's it going to take to change that? Or-
It's the board policy.
Okay.
So TAC and CAC will make recommendations to the board on it. The board will decide what they think, if that's okay.
Sounds good to me.
It's good news.
I think it makes sense. Especially, and if, when you do administrative changes, it would be nice to alert all of the advisory committees at that time.
Oh, yeah, that goes in. Because what we do, we send them in now to CDOT, but we don't send it out to the TAC and CAC. I mean, we can do that, because it's just dragging the mailing list over to the email. I mean,
I just have one question, though. Wendy, can we put on the consent?
What's that?
Can we put this on the consent approval, though? when this
I don't
goes
think
through?
you could put that on the consent agenda. It has to be a discussion.
Just wanted to double check with you.
so.
It's a policy
So,
change.
I think, Craig, based upon what I've heard, is that you'll take us through the committees and the board as a discussion item.
And then next month, we'll bring back a recommendation.
So, in
for
the
action.
interim, if you have any comments or concerns, you can send them to PPACG. Aaron?
I would specify, and I think it does right here, that this is emergency relief funding,
Yep,
not
funding.
just emergency. I know we've been dealing with CDOT and how to handle STIP amendments when there's an emergency, which is, well, we want to get the contract out today,
No, this is ER
versus,
funds.
the floods and fires and the real disasters we have separate. So that's something to make clear.
Yes, the ER funds.
Yeah, ER funds, it's, the special set-asides that,
So,
in the vetting process to get them all.
yeah, they're thoroughly vetted, and projects are well-known by the time it gets to the actual funding, so.
Thanks, Craig, for adding that item. So then, item number 14, member entity announcements.
Did you want to say
Does anybody have anything? Bill, you don't have something? You usually have something.
I said my thank yous earlier.
Brian?
We're just in the middle of our public meeting process for our spring 2016 service changes. We've had 3 so far, and we have 3 more, 1 tonight, 1 tomorrow, and 1 on Tuesday. So, and whatever changes are recommended as final will be implemented on May 1st.
And those meetings are posted on your website as to where
Yes.
those are and what times, so if anybody's interested. Craig?
We are, yet again, still interviewing for our vacant Planner 2 and Planner 3 positions. So we're hoping, we made an offer today, I think, to fill one of the positions, and we've got more interviews scheduled for the next 2 weeks. Also, we have an RFP out for updating our travel demand model. We're looking to go to a tour-based dynamic assignment, all the cool bells and whistles. But for less than the $5 million Dr. Cog paid for theirs. So,
Gloria?
I actually got asked by my management about this today, because, we get one of your licenses.
Yep.
And I understand that this next license is gonna be wicked expensive. And then they had questions about whether or not we'll be able to utilize this new model and know how to use it, and there was a lot of concerns literally from my management.
okay.
So, I didn't know you had an RFP out for it already, but, can we maybe have a presentation or something at an upcoming PAC meeting, or, I don't know
Well-
how I'm gonna do, our county plans with a model that is beyond our price point and that I don't know anything about.
Well, at that point, we can talk about consulting as a profit center at PPACG to run the model for you. Yeah, sure. We haven't, we're looking to get RFPs back to see what the costs are and what the proposals are, because there's half a dozen different ways that the consultants can go with the update. So, yes, but not yet. How's that? Because I don't know how the consultants are going to propose to do it. We've got 2 solid We've been in contact with 2 different consulting groups. I've heard from 2 others that they may be interested. I just don't know what tack they're going to approach it at, so.
Might it be a good idea to have maybe a TAC member on the RFP evaluation committee?
Tim has graciously volunteered, and I think Wendy said she could too, so.
Okay. Any other?
Should we know Michael?
He wouldn't show up.
Aaron?
So, I know we've all been talking about FAST a little bit, Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act. That's our new authorization act we got signed last month. A lot of information is still to come, but I just want to make sure everybody knows there's been a few minor changes in the planning world. Not a lot has changed. We're still waiting for our interim rules from Map 21, but there's 2 new planning factors that you can think about that in the next plan, not this one, but the next one probably have to be considered. Resiliency and redundancy in emergency planning. And then there's one that's actually 2. I think they're just calling it one because it's stormwater mitigation and tourism, which, go hand in hand quite well.
What is it about rafting?
I have no idea. You can start thinking about how to incorporate those into the plan.
The good news is we have a stormwater goal already in our plan.
There you go. And now, are people going to see it for fun or what? I mean,
When
let's sell
it's,
tickets.
yeah.
Matthew has that corner covered.
You guys haven't lived in a hurricane-prone environment that you experience such events that you can visit a theme park, see wildlife in the parking lot that normally isn't there, and wade all the way through to the park.
And then, to put on your radar, there's a big freight element to the new authorization, and there's new freight requirements for plans and for national network, which includes critical urban corridors, which is nice. We don't know yet what that fully means, but you will have some say as an MPO in what those corridors are in your area. So keep it on your radar. CDOT is just beginning to wade through all this information, and we're waiting for final interpretation of many things, but it's nice to know that there's now a new freight formula for funding.
So you mean CDOT will talk to us about the highway freight plan instead of just adopting it like they did last year?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Michael's not here for
It's
the,
okay, you can beat Michael if all you want.
yeah.
What do you mean? I said, this is not going to go over well. So you listen.
They just adopted the freight plan for our area without even talking to us.
So just wanted to throw those on your radar. More to come. No, it's
Send them down to Pueblo.
sitting on Bill's chair waiting to sign.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
So what Victoria's referring to is the letter reclassifying Charter Oak Ranch Road into an arterial, so,
A collector.
sorry, collector.
Major collector, though.
Major collector. And then I just want to add, I don't know if we've had several press releases about our Black Forest culverts, which is a TIP project. I just want to let people know that we have received authorization from Federal Highways and CDOT to advertise that project. That roadway has been closed since October 22nd. And I just want to thank CDOT staff, Federal Highways, for helping us move that project along so we can get that road reopened. So, more updates to come, but hopefully we'll have that project completed around the July timeframe. That's what we're anticipating. Anything else from anybody else? Alrighty. Items for future TAC meetings.
We'll have a tip amendment, probably have some tips, I don't know if the tip scores will be for next month. And hopefully an announcement of new staff, so.
And then, action item.
Oh, you have the tip,
The tip policy.
ER funding. Tip amendment.
I think Wade,
I'd like to follow up on where the 5 projects that
were old but needed additional funding stands. We were going to allocate more money in the 2016 to 2019.
Well, we put money into it, but it's still spread out. We have to get,
We
Yeah,
need to get
the
the,
years,
we need
yep.
the locals were to provide reconciliation with regards to their projects, and we haven't received them as of yet.
so they have the funding, it's just not necessarily in rational
It's all
years.
spread out all over the place.
Victoria?
And then a future model presentation.
Yep. We can
Maybe
totally
not
do
next
that.
month, but soon. And do we have a schedule or a time frame for doing our joint traffic count PMA meeting? Because our groups are very excited about this and would love to help you facilitate
Okay.
anytime. Our PMA group was thrilled when they heard about the option, so.
Okay. Cool. Yes, and I'm sorry, I'd completely forgotten that with, yep, no, I appreciate it.
All righty, anything else? Does anybody have a motion for adjournment?
I do.
Second.
All those in favor?
Triple.
Any opposed? Thanks, everybody.
Yes. Okey-dokey.